Hey, what's up, Star Citizens? Keldar here. Sig just dropped some huge news. They did a roadmap roundup for 4.11, and essentially, long story short, Nyx is going to have planets. That's big news. But also, every other planet in the game is changing. How? Well, let's take a look. This thing called Genesis, Planet Tech V5. And I remember Sig doing a very detailed talk about this back last year sometime. I did my research and I found that section of the Star Citizen Live. So let's take a look at it together. Let's hype together.
Do you really believe your own hype that much?
I am the hype!
So this was when Nyx was about to come out. Or maybe it had just come out. I can't remember. This is October 11th, I believe.
We believe art inspires the best technology.
2025.
Through the development of that technology, it pushes us to create even better art. When Genesis comes to the persistent universe starting next year, it will change how you experience every world. And not just in the building of the new planets for the Nyx system. We will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens of our technology. Previously, and more traditionally, we'd create slices of biomes, like deserts or forests. This approach moved us forwards and got us this far, but solving the scale was always tricky. And for Star Citizen, we like to do scale on another level. Issues like seeing tiling from our hype maps from high altitude, or the unpredictable blending when two biomes connected, were common. But ultimately, things just never felt right. Our worlds were gorgeous, but to us, they...
And that's so true. So many people that review this game that come in from the outside, you know, like, whatever, game reviewers or whatever, they say the same thing. Star Citizen feels hollow.
Still sometimes felt like interpretations. Now this was a super hard problem, which we needed to solve at the scale for Star Citizen requires. We challenged ourselves to emulate nature in the most believable way, and not just on a planetary scale, but to our level of detail.
Hype, 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 hype. Hopium.
Genesis, we've made a complete paradigm shift to how we do things. Biomes are now created based on the physical data sets, with the assets being spawned whenever and wherever the correct criteria is found. So when you see a forest or a
Frame rate drop. Did you see that?
no longer
Yikes.
because an artist painstakingly crafted it there. It's now because it simply wants to be there. It fits inside our rules.
Ooh, that ship just disappeared.
Also ties into our other gameplay systems. Our new planets are built from the information we create
New stealth tech.
from data sets, like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil types, soil amounts, geology,
Wow.
data, to name but a few.
Yeah, look at that humidity. That's cool.
This means you can now tell where to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it. Where scree piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course,
This is the new biome.
still give us the ability to direct the look and feel we want. The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA.
My Ursa hates
With
this.
Genesis, we can now keep that detail-orientated mindset as we focus on the quality, and it provides the quantity.
My Ursa's looking at all those bulbs sticking up going, uh-oh.
Ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part of what exploration is for us. We want that feeling of finding a corner of the universe that you'll fall in love with, and where you want to settle down and build your home. Now I'm going to hand you over
Excuse
to Bill
me.
to go deeper into what we have built that allows Genesis to realize our vision. As a reminder, some of the visuals you'll see will evolve and change as we continue our technological development and hone in on the final look for Nyx.
Thanks, Ian. So, in case it's not already clear, Genesis is our name for a group of technologies that are improving our ability to build worlds, refining those that we've already created, and ultimately expanding our persistent universe to the scale and quality that we all expect. I work on planet tech, so let's talk about how that's continued to evolve since our presentation last year. And instead of just highlighting some really cool biomes that we can create, let's go ahead and show how all this work applies to the upcoming planets of Nyx. So there are 3 planets in Nyx. Nyx 3 is a gas giant, and I think it's blue.
So it's like Orison.
It's not got a surface, I don't really know.
Or, I'm sorry, Crusader.
Nyx 2 is a yellow, toxic, it's got like this high pressure atmosphere, and it's like a very volatile planet with high risk reward gameplay. It's gonna have some really interesting biomes for you to discover, but for now, just know it's gonna be dangerous, because today, we're gonna focus on what we consider to be the hero planet of this system. Nyx 1 has got a rugged, remote beauty. It's got a diverse set of biomes, from weathered rocky mountain ranges to vast sweeping forests and grasslands, and from damp, expansive wetlands to claustrophobic, festering swamps.
Airboats
These
win,
core
Sig.
biome concepts give us a fantastic platform to hone our technology. In some cases, because the current tech couldn't do them at all, or because we want to completely step up our game for them. So, let's approach this planet in much the same way that you, the player, will, from orbit. The orbit appearance of the planets going forward is far more tied to what is present on the surface. Previously, we had different data that drove the orbital and ground coloring. That's because the orbit was designed to look like vegetation that we'd place on the surface, and the ground coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the kind of colors there. Now we author much more of the data in a unified way. When you look at Earth, you see blues and greens for ocean and vegetation, and brown or yellowy tones for sand and soil. We wanted to keep it as simple as that. The same set of textures and data that define the color of the soil, sand, and rock on the ground are used to create the orbital look. We then assess the presence of vegetation and competition between different species on each part of the planet, and use that to blend in tones of green, including variations due to species health and the current season. This creates a far more complete image and allows you to identify features, geologies, and potential points of interest all the way from space. Let's go down to the surface and start with something closer to what you're used to, but in a whole new light.
Poor Polaris, man, I think screwed right now.
Approached the surface of the planet, we wanted to start by focusing on just the soil and rock. One of the things that was missing from our terrain previously was simply feature complexity. Looking at our contemporaries, we lacked detail at the ground scale. To combat this, we've added a new layer of data. That layer is called the medium tiles. These are intelligently placed on top of the existing 4 kilometer.
I literally don't see a difference there, but
slope, soil type, and other erosion data. And these medium tiles don't just create height changes, they also bring in local erosion data both for soil and bedrock size values. And this gives us a whole new level of terrain detail, of scale, and allows us to create far more unique locations across the planet. So now that we've nailed the surface, let's have a look at adding some rocks. We've now got 2 major contributors to the rock content of our planets. Firstly, long desired feature, cliffs. We are adding large scale, very detailed to all our cliffs based on the geology at a given location. This adds an exciting new dimension to steep slopes that we simply couldn't get before. The second is a big one for you ground vehicle enthusiasts. Rocks are now found not scattered everywhere, like spilt popcorn at the cinema, but only in places you'd expect to find them, thanks to a brand new rock scattering algorithm that isn't annoying as hell. Using physical data generated for each large and medium tile, now rock distribution makes sense and has a physical basis. So if you're still crashing into them after this comes out, that's on you. The
To
rock
be
assets
determined.
themselves have had a glow up too. We now create rock sets related to a particular geology that look like they originated from the same source. And this ties into how we'll be distributing minables in much more interesting ways too. So now that our base terrain and rock scattering looks good, let's add some vegetations and explore some additional biomes. Next one's forests and grasslands are full of trees, various grass species, rock formations, and they're found in all sorts of elevations like mountain valleys, open plains, and dense meadows. And when we start to add a bit of fresh water, they begin transitioning into more wetland-type biomes. And while forests are super cool, let's focus on the grasslands and wetlands today. So, how are we making these look so great? Obviously, we've had grass before, but never meadows of it. Because until now, we haven't been able to spawn grass in large enough quantities or effectively represented at distance.
That looks beautiful.
So we're stepping up our game in terms of spawning, shaping, and shading grass.
Sorry, GPU.
With Genesis, we now leverage GPU spawning to create vast quantities of assets across all biomes, whether it be dense meadows or more complex collections of ground cover like you can see in these wetlands. We are also able to fit our grass tiles to the ground by conforming them to the unique terrain underneath. Now we can finally cover complex terrain shapes with grass and ground cover assets, and as a result they are now gravity aligned, meaning each blade is oriented as you'd expect and not sticking out like before. Next, let's take a look at how we light our grass. Now, as in real life, the shading of a grass blade, or indeed a whole field of grass, is lit very differently to like a flat surface. We now use a solution that shades meadows of grass far more like fur or hair. And this, if you think about it, makes sense. At a distance, a field of grass is far more like a carpet or cloth than a flat surface. This improves how our grass looks from a near perspective, as well as bringing us nicely
Wow.
to how we're solving the distant representation of grass. So let's talk about the distance problem. One of our biggest achievements with Genesis is allowing us to build beautiful biomes out of flora and geology assets like a building set. Can I say Lego?
No.
Too late. But in the past, this broke down very quickly when objects simply disappeared when viewing the same biome from 10, 20, 100 kilometers away. Because we don't hide planetary transitions and allow you to view complex regions from very large distances, there are almost infinite perspectives from which you can see a location in Star Citizen. So, how can we afford to evaluate complex spawning logic at runtime for the entire swathes of the planet? Enter the virtual terrain. Virtual terrain, or VT for short, is how we now cache and represent our terrain at varying scales. This has been the enabler for all of the lovely advances in...
And I just want to mention that you could actually physically sometimes see these squares right now in the game. You see the edge of them, and that hopefully gets taken care of with this. But yeah, just want to mention that. You can actually see these terrain squares, patches, whatever you want to call them.
In terrain complexity and asset spawning we've shown so far. And it's also how we now evaluate and represent vegetation from a distance.
So as you get closer, the square gets smaller,
Each
maybe?
part of the terrain, we assess if vegetation has covered the ground, and if so, what shading should be applied. For all of our biomes, we're now able to use the same shading model for the distant representation as the close-up asset, whether that's our lovely rolling hills, some more dramatic rockscapes, those muggy wetlands, or even our festering swamps. So yeah, we didn't forget about the swamps, and they're coming to Nix 1 as well. Built using the lessons learned and all the technologies we've developed, these swamps now spring into existence from the planetary data. This biome combines all of the elements from the other biomes we've shown you today, from water interaction, denser spawning, unique ground coverage, and I think it creates something really unique.
Your landing gear's down. Rookie.
Anyway, that's our update on the Planet Tech portion of Genesis and how we're using it right now to sculpt the identity of Nix 1. And I hope you're as excited as we are to explore this and everything we haven't shared yet next year.
So, that's Genesis V5. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I have my concerns. Well, for one, it's going to flip everything on its head. It's going to change everything. NPC movement, NPC population, frame rates, biomes, everything. Everything's going to change. So, in the past, with huge changes like this, things haven't gone so swimmingly, we'll say. But maybe I'll be surprised. I don't know. Just like Siege of Orson, I didn't think they'd get it cleaned up, but I mean, I played it last night and it was pretty damn smooth most of the time. Most of the time. Still had the typical inventory issues, you know, guns turning into med pens turning into guns, med pens thinking they're grenades and you're throwing them. But it's overall pretty damn smoothed out. The frame rate actually felt really good. Very little rubber banding. So they've surprised me before, but this is a huge change. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And once again, I'm Kaldar. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. I really appreciate it. If you could, please smash the like, comment, and subscribe. And till next time, guys, don't do nothing I wouldn't do. Peace.